Hey, everybody, it's Monday. We got the show up. That's good. That's the most important part. We got the show up. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about today on the show. So if you're joining us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found, obviously, you've already done that. So keep on doing it. If you haven't, then make sure you go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify to check us out. But what are we going to be talking about on today's show? Well, we got a lot to talk about. AntMan 3, that trailer hits today. What are we going to expect from AntMan 3? What do we expect some of the story points? What do we expect from Kang? So we'll talk about that. I got expert Brett Sheridan here to talk about the Marvel stuff. Avatar, it has made $1.7 billion thus far. It doesn't seem any signs of slowing down, and James Cameron shockingly says that there's going to definitely 4 and 5 are more likely now, so that's a big shocker. Shocker for me, Megan. That movie is just crushing at the box office. A sequel's going to happen, and they're also going to release an unrated cut. The Rock apparently takes responsibility for Black Adam not doing well. What was that all about? Last of Us, that's coming out next week, and they're projecting it to be a massive hit. And Nick Cage likes Star Trek better than Star Wars. Blasphemy, Mr. Cage, blasphemy. We'll talk about that and more on today's show. So I hope that you are excited, because we're excited. It's going to be a fun show, absolutely. And as always, we want to thank our sponsors, Carbon Health. Man, we love Carbon Health. And if you didn't know, Carbon Health already, I've talked about it many times over. They're known for their 120 locations, and they handle urgent care, COVID, RSV, flu testing, vaccinations. But what people should also be looking into is how they're expanding into primary care services that include connected health. And if you don't know what connected health is, it's the idea that our health is not just about our bodies, but it's also our mind. Carbon Health's providers, they come connected with mental health specialists as well. Carbon Health is going to be expanding these primary care services further this year, and if you're in Massachusetts, you'll be able to access the connected care next month, since it's actually this month. So now it's expanded from California to Massachusetts. Anyway, Carbon Health is an excellent urgent care and testing center, but don't sleep on their primary care services. So we're always excited to be working with Carbon Health. As you noticed, on the episodes on Monday, they sponsor. We did that episode with Roca and Merle. They sponsored that, and we thank them for that, but we also thank them for what they do. So make sure you check them out. All right, everybody. Certainly not the last thing I want to talk about. One of the first things I wanted to talk about. If you watched Capes and Cowls this past week, we had one of the biggest moments on the show. Now, we sell these shirts, the Sith Council, Show Some Class, the Flirt and Flouse. And now we have this You Don't Know ish shirt. That's an old school between myself and Brett, but this is the one that everybody's talking about. Black Knight. That's right. It's on the store now, and if you get it now, you can get the shirt for $8 less than what it'll cost you in about 5 days from now. So make sure you check that out. We're excited about it. That was a very funny moment, and that clip is on if you haven't seen it, and check that out as well. Other than that, man, you got the Patreon. Got it all, but let's get into the show. It's myself. It's Brett. We're ready to go. Are you ready to go? It's the big thing, everybody. Let's do it. What's going, everybody? What's going? What's going? What's going? It's not going. It's me. It's Brett. It's us. Welcome back. Happy New Year. I've seen you already, haven't I?
Yeah.
Last week.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all blending together. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'll tell you. Talking about blending together, though, man. I posted it on the community page last week, but I sent it to you first, and I was going back to that. Your oldest is going to be 16, right?
Yeah.
When, in March?
No, end of this month.
End of this month.
Yeah.
All right, so 16 years old. And the other day, I was going through these pictures, and this shows up. And, initially it's look at this little kid and how he's now 16 years old, a little baby. But every other comment was like, what happened to me?
Yeah, thanks.
They're not wrong. I mean, and I said, what I said was 16 years happened to me.
You got the same facial hair, but it's gray.
And I have about 15 or 17 extra pounds. And so when I had posted that, people were like, "Oh man, it was a very different you." And I'm like, "Yeah, no shit." But it has made me go, okay, You got to get back to that MetaQuest workout program. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, my son has the MetaQuest now, so I want to do that.
That program.
He's got Beat Saber.
It's not the same.
Saber.
Yeah, it's not the same. It's similar in the game itself, but this forget the hell the name of the program is that I use. Shoot,
I've seen it before. I can't think of the name.
I can't remember. But I love it. It's just I haven't used it in a while. When I did, I was starting to really be in shape again. I stopped doing it, but it's fantastic because they use like music the same way Beat Saber does, but it's like actual trainers like in telling you what to do, and like
swing your arms around like crazy.
Yeah, but it's also it's like you're doing this whole music thing, and you got it's I haven't done it. I'm gonna do it soon. The best is that I set up my 5-year-old's account. I set up my 5-year-old's room that I can actually do.
Oh yeah,
because I have enough room there to be able to do.
Yeah, even in here it's a little tight.
I wouldn't be able to do it in here unless I move everything around. But speaking of my 5-year-old, and before we move on to some of these topics, I have to tell everybody. I've told the story of my 5-year-old and how she's essentially a soprano. And I asked her one time. I don't know if people remember on this. I said, Maisie, who do you think you are? Did I ever tell you what she said?
Oh, no, I don't think I heard this one.
I said, Maisie, who do you think you are? She goes, I'm the master. I go, the master of what? She goes, the master of the gods. She was like 4 years old when she said that. And like, I'm like, what are you talking about? And then, so that's also not compared to all the other stuff that she does. What is this? What is this list? Oh, lists.
Oh my God.
What is this list? What is this? What this is? Go away. I bring my contacts. What is this?
What?
It's unbelievable.
They're always changing stuff on my phone.
Anything. I'm going to try to call my wife and have her tell the story.
You had glasses here at one point.
Yeah, it's gone.
Look at that.
I got them.
Look at the clarity of that.
I know, it sounds good, but I'm going to try to call my wife and see if she can tell us the story about what happened.
Hello.
Hey, you're on the air.
Oh, great.
Okay. Can you tell the story of what Maisie said to you yesterday when you were putting her to sleep?
Yeah, so I telling her a story, and I started to tell her about something, used a word or something she didn't understand, so I went into this relatively lengthy explanation, at least for a 5-year-old, I guess. And then about halfway through, she says, why are you still talking? And I say, just like that, she says it to me. I said, well, I'm explaining to you what that meant because you didn't understand. She said, I stopped listening a little while ago.
It's absolutely amazing. Where is she? Where is she, by the way? I want to ask her.
She's watching TV. And but did you tell them about what she said to me in the middle of the night?
No, go ahead. Tell her.
Out of a dead sleep, I go in to check on her because she's had a fever. And she says, you've disturbed my sleep. A 5-year-old. You're disturbing my sleep. You've disturbed my sleep. Dismisses me like a peasant. Like I'm her, whatever,
Worker.
her servant girl.
Yeah.
And I've disturbed her sleep. I couldn't even take her temperature. She shooed me away, literally shooed me with her hand. And that was it. So she's
try to put her on speaker for 1 second. Disrupt her show for a second. I don't care. I got it.
Okay, well, this might not go well.
Or might go perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might go exactly.
You're interrupting Bubble Gup.
Bubble Guppies, yeah.
So this might not go well.
I just want to ask her.
Okay, Maisie, Dad wants to ask you a question. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Maisie, are you there? Maisie.
Why?
Hey, so can I ask you a question? Who do you think you are?
Master what, Dad?
No, I can't. I can't understand what you're saying. Can you say it clear? So there's nothing. So what else do you want to tell me? Do you love your dada? Yeah. Oh, that's very nice. And what else? Is there anything else you want to say before you watch your show?
No.
No. Okay.
What finger did you give? What finger?
What happened?
Didn't have another candy.
Oh,
I can't understand what you're saying.
the finger.
Oh, how I wish you could share that.
Oh yeah. I should play that video on the. All right. Well, I forgot about that as well. All right. Well, thank you. I love you.
Bye.
Nice. Not even I love you back. Unbelievable.
Man.
So yeah, the other thing is I heard this from outside I think I talked about it. I think I said it on the air once, but I was outside and I was throwing the garbage away, and I hear my wife go, "No, you can't do that. No." And I walk in, I go, what were you just doing? I took the camera and I go, what were you doing? And she goes, I just want one more.
Yeah.
I want one more. And it was hilarious. She kept doing it. And at the end, I'm like, you can't do this. She goes,
Yeah, she kept putting it on her.
on her face. Yeah. She it's like she knew what she was doing, but not really.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's have children, everybody.
That's the message.
Tell you the message is also I stand by it, dude. I cannot wait for Twitter to go away. I know it's not never going to go away, but it just proved it so much more the other day. Two things happened over the weekend where I'm just like, this is why I hate Twitter so much. Two things. One, there was one that was fairly innocent, but still like you can see how people misconstrue stuff. I did my top 10 list, right? We were talking about like the multiverse.
Yeah.
And what I had said in that video was I liked I was into the multiverse and all these other things before, like, Marvel had made it cool and all this, because I've always been interested in the multiverse in general and the understanding of how it works and if it's indeed a thing. It's been a thing scientifically forever, and that's the thing I've always studied up on it. And I saw some guy tweet out, he's like, hopefully Harlow City liked multiverses before anybody else and before it was cool. And I'm like, that's not what I said at all. It's like the DC and Marvel were doing it forever, but I'm just saying I've been interested in it before I didn't even know they did it.
Yeah, the concept
of the actual idea of the multiverse. So this guy's tweeting out stuff and like looking to get some people to go then start talking shit on me, and it's like that's why I hate Twitter so much. That's like part one of it. And then the other one is I responded to the new rock stars had this thing, and it was what was it? It was they said it, which was a funny bit, and they said, if you could add one like F word to any Star Wars movie, what would you take? And I said, I've been talking about this old lady long enough. But how funny it would be if Ray shows up. She goes, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Right. So I wrote that back and I said, meaningless old lady saying it. And some guy who's got a Star Wars podcast, instead of just like saying this, he's like, says meaningless old lady, then states her cause, and then puts the clown emoji at the end. And I responded back, and I'm just like, God, relax, guy. Yeah. And I'm like, why didn't I respond to this fucking idiot? And I just deleted it in general. I'm like, it's so silly. It's like, I don't understand why people are looking for some shit all the time. It's like people are always looking for some shit.
Yeah, it baffles me why you're just poking people.
Why some shit? It's like, oh, you don't like me, you don't like me. I don't give a shit. That's cool. But what do you? I didn't go after you. I was just fucking talking about this meaningless old lady who's a meaningless old lady. They put her in there. I'm not saying the actress. Happy birthday, by the way. The lady just had a birthday, but nothing against her. I mean, actress was fine. So what the fuck is that old lady doing in the middle of the desert?
Yeah, that was no dig against.
She's farming. What is she farming? She's like 90 years. Yeah, she's like 90 years old with a busted camel. There's nothing out there for her to do. She's only there to ask Ray what her name is.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. Anyway, so like between that and then, and the other thing is that two people. So Vivian, as you know, is obsessed with Wednesday.
Oh yeah.
Obsessed. And she said to me that because I was posting like some Stallone video or something like for my shorts. I've been doing a lot of the shorts lately. And she's like, how come you're not doing anything on Wednesday? And I said, well, at the time I hadn't watched any of it. And I was like, well, I haven't really seen it. I don't know enough about it. And then she's like, yeah, but everywhere I go, I'm looking and I see Jenna Ortega videos. And then I noticed, I was like, it is trending and it is people are talking about it, but I haven't watched it yet. So I started watching it. And I'm like, all right, I'll post a few of these. So I did it for her and I did it for the fact that it was, trending, see if I can get a little traction on it. Plus the fact I like the show. I'm not just going to post on shit I don't know. So there were two people. One guy is like, oh, Harlow has a crush. I go, dude, she's 20 years old. That's like my daughter. Almost, it could have been my daughter. I could have easily, I was like, ugh. Part one. Part two is another guy going, why do you keep posting videos about Jenna Ortega? And I'm like, because, like I said, one, my daughter
hit show,
and two, it's a hit show, and it's gotten some traction on the thing. And I was just like, again, I fell back into that trap of responding, and I'm like, stop responding. I'm like, just either, just mute the person. Or just move on. It doesn't, and I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to everybody else too. It's like it doesn't benefit the conversation to have, just a destructive overall conversation. If you're trying to be fun, like I said, the other guy who wrote this stupid thing about the old lady, I wasn't mad. I was like, yeah, who cares? Be quiet, you. But I'm like, why am I even responding to him? Like, well, for what?
Because it works. Whatever they do,
they're goading you.
The goading, it works, and
true.
it's tough because you also don't want them to think that you don't know what you're talking about too. Because you're like, wait, does this guy think I don't get that this is just a whatever?
It was just a bit, and but that was part of it. But it was also, and less so where, and the first guy I was talking about, like where he was saying that I said that like the multiverse before everyone else, which is the silliest tweet I saw. I don't know. Maybe the guy's a fan. Maybe he's not. I have no idea. But like, it was just like, what are you tweeting that?
Well, and
for?
even if you did something, this is the dumb thing with the clickbait and the stuff like that. And yeah, maybe Jenny Ortega, like why you would use like. Yeah. It's your fucking business, man. Yeah. Like that's I need to get clicks. I need to get.
There were quite a few people in the Instagram that kind of wrote that back and said, "Well, what do you expect?" And I sent the guy a DM. I said, "What are you doing?" I was like, "This is," and I basically said the same thing. And he very understandably, look, it's like I don't really like the way your channel's going, and I'm not gonna be a fan anymore. I said, that is such a fair comment. Yeah. Like I don't need you to be like. I was appreciative that you watched. I was appreciative to listen. If you don't like the direction of where the certain things, whether it's the shorts or the show in general, if you don't like that, I can't tell you, well, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. That's your personal choice. It's just because you're like, oh, you can't take criticism. I'm like, no. Criticism is what you just said. Yeah. Criticism is
I don't like the direction.
You don't like the direction, so I'm out. I appreciate that, and I respect you for it. Saying, you shouldn't be. The reason why you're doing this is because you're, or this is creepy that you're posting on this. I'm like, what are you talking? My fucking 11-year-old asked me to do videos on her favorite show. Like, what do you want to talk about? It was anyway.
If she wasn't on a show right now and you kept posting stuff, that'd be a difference.
But even as out of nowhere, right? Like, but even if it was like depending, but it's what was said in the thing is just this is a rising star and why it is. Yeah. That's all. It's if you watch each video, it's this is a rising star and the reason why I believe this person is continuously to get the success that they're getting and what do you want to see them in next? Do you want to see them in Marvel? Do you want to see them in Star Wars? What the fuck are you talking about? So, but it was just the overall point of all of this is that it just shows like again where I know I'm blue in the face with saying this to people, but like it just get rid of Twitter, get rid of like I think that's why I tried to post this thing yesterday about I posted this inspirational movie quotes. And there was one that I say to my kids all the time. There's one that I tell myself all the time, and it's the quote from Dark Knight Rises, and just the Dark Knight series in general. But it's why do we fall so we could pick ourselves back up? And I posted something on there yesterday as a short, and I posted it right around the same time that all this other stuff. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna stay away from all the negative shit because you can fall into that trap, and I could keep going into DMs and responses to people, but get the fuck out of there. That's what made me go nuts years ago. I'm like, no, delete responses, don't respond to people, and post positivity. And I promise you, it made me feel 100% better.
Oh, 100, yeah. And that's the thing. I think now that because I think you're actively going, and I know that you're going in there to respond to the good ones. Yeah. Before, I think you probably stopped just looking all together or kind of grazing it, but now that you're sifting through each one, you're seeing, and you can see 100 good things, but one person says a shitty thing, and you're just like, and I'm glad you brought that up because it is overwhelmingly, since we started doing Big Thing, and the comments that we see recently have been so overwhelmingly positive. For anybody who was gonna respond, and again, rightfully so, if you thought that the only thing I was responding to was, well, why don't you respond to the positive comments? I do. Those I want to ignore the other ones because basically what I do now, even like there's stuff that'll come in on the YouTube channel that people will say shitty things or not disagreeing and not criticisms, but shitty things. I don't respond to them. I either block them from the channel or, there's keywords sometimes I'll put in there. I block them from the channel. I don't need people like that. I don't want them around. But conversations where we have that it's just good conversation and people like criticism. I've seen tons of stuff and I love this stuff. I don't agree with your point because of this. And I do and have been responding to tons of comments. Oh yeah, I've noticed it.
And I wish I could do all of them. It takes a lot of time, which is I have my laptop set up in my kitchen and I'll go and respond. When I have downtime here, I respond and I make sure that I have all of the comments open on YouTube and I respond to them. And the idiots, I just hide from the channel and ban them completely. But other people, I try to have full conversations. So the community, I'm not classifying any of those people inside of, well, maybe the one guy, but with the responding on the Star Wars tweet, who's just looking for a fight. But the other two guys that I was like, okay, I don't think they're idiots. I just don't understand their particular points of view. But yeah, so I don't know. We went down a rabbit hole.
Look at that.
Yeah, just like that. But that's
the show.
So before we even get into actual topics, let me tell you about our sponsors today, Athletic Greens. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. I love it. I gave AG1 a try because I wanted better gut health. I wanted increased energy. I wanted immune system support. And I didn't like taking all those pills and vitamins. And I wanted a better supplement that tastes great. I take AG1, for me, I take it right before the coffee. I put it in the water bottle. I shake it up. It makes me feel good. And actually really helps sleep quality too. It's great. I know that I'm doing something good for my body and I'm giving me the nutrition that I need. I love it. It's hard for me to keep up with a supplement routine all the time. It comes with different products. I just like I love AG1 because you put it in the bottle, you just take it once, and it tastes good. You go, this is green. It doesn't matter. It tastes good.
It's easy to mix up too.
Very easy.
Some of these things they chalky and they like get all clumped. No,
it's great. So, and why do you want to take a bunch of different things anyway? We can just mix 1 scoop of powder and water once, and that's it. And Brett's right. It's very easy. And it has an all-in-one formula and makes it easy for me to cover my nutritional basis every day. And it's packed with 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients of the highest quality that gives me major benefits like gut and mood support. It's awesome. Now, the AG1 is delivered to me every month, so it's been super easy to make it a daily habit. You can do it. Just go and check it out. And I love hearing from people who said they've tried it and they love it and they want to continue to use it. So if you're looking for an easy way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel bags with your first purchase. Now go to athleticgreens.com/bigthing. athleticgreens.com/bigthing. Check it out.
All right. So thanks again to Athletic Greens. And while the break was going on, Brett pissed all over me.
Yeah. I couldn't hold it anymore. Just
fucking spraying me like a fucking fire hose. Hey, listen, do me a favor. In the middle of my Athletic Greens ad, I want you to get up and just piss all over me, all right? It's like, it's not like a fetish or anything. It's
Eat a bowl of asparagus first.
Yeah, just need something to wake me up, and I got nothing else except if I was figuring if you could just, give me some hot urine, that'd be wonderful. No, I walked outside. It's fucking raining out here, and I walked outside for a split second, and that's what I got. I got hit. So there you go. All right, good transition. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. If you hadn't known from the past week, or you're brand new to the show and brand new to the channel, what we have done, minus the little conversation we had up top, we're going to go through these stories in the news, and I listed a few of them. Some of the ones that I listed up top in the beginning of the show. I don't know how many we're going to actually get to, but Brett and I will go through. I'm going to bring up the topic first. We're going to go into it, and then after that, Brett will go and we'll cover whatever we can. So, all right, let's start with this one. This is Avatar. Already made $1.7 billion. So clearly they're going to be doing both 3 and 4. And now James Cameron was asked in a new interview about the potential of 4 and 5. And this is what he said. So this is from Dark Horizons. When it comes to the financial success of the Avatar sequel, many have taken one quote from an interview filmmaker James Cameron gave back in November and set it in stone as a fact. In that interview with GQ, Cameron said that Avatar: The Way of Water was so expensive to make it would have to be the 3rd or 4th highest grossing film in history. That led to people quickly looking up charts and coming to the conclusion that the new film would have to cross $2 billion at the box office to be profitable, as the top 5 highest grossing films of all time have done so, often only just. There were always some serious complications with the thinking of that, though. Avatar: The Way of Water wasn't shot on its own. It was filmed alongside the 3rd and even part of the 4th. In addition, all the scripts for all 5 films were developed together, and a bunch of technology was developed for the shoot that will be used across the franchise. Thus, when it comes to figuring out the economics of this single film, it's a trickier prospect, which is why estimates of the individual film productions have ranged anywhere from $350 to $450. Anyway, Cameron now has confirmed that it will make a profit. It looks like with the momentum that the film has now, we'll easily pass our break even in the next few days. So it looks like we can't wiggle out of this, and I'm going to have to do these other sequels. I know what I'm going to be doing the next 6 or 7 years. Cameron was then asked about his quote in November and how it appeared he was referring to the $2 billion mark. Cameron clarified this comment, and he said, "I actually never gave it a number. I said it would have to be among the highest grossing films in history, and somebody else applied that number, and it got picked up. The number is actually less." Cameron then spoke further about where things stand with the franchise. And the point is, we're going to be okay. I'm sure that we'll have a discussion soon with the top folks at Disney about the game plan going forward for Avatar 3, which is already in the can, which is crazy. We've already captured and photographed the whole film, so we're in extended post-production to do all that CG magic. And then Avatar 4 and 5 are both written. We even have some of 4 in the can. We've begun a franchise at this point. We've begun a saga that now can play out over multiple films. So according to analysts, the film is on track to make at least $1.825 billion, with $2 billion certainly in reach if they continue as it is. All right, so a lot of things to kind of bring up here. And I would say, look, we thought, I don't remember where did you say it was going to land?
Oh, I went high. I went like 3.
3?
Yeah.
3 is going to, well, I mean, look, 3 over the course of the next 10 years, who knows, maybe. But, you know, because if you look at the re-releases and things that they had, probably not. But
my realistic number is definitely going to hit 2. And I'd say, you know, maybe 2.2, maybe, you know.
I don't think that's a crazy number anymore. I mean, I thought it was going to stop at like 1.4, 1.5 or whatever it is. It's now at it's going to be 1.8, and the thing that everybody said, it has no competition until AntMan.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got no competition until AntMan. That's not for like almost another month away. There's like little things coming out here and there, but for the most part, that's it. It'll keep tacking up those points. And the craziest thing inside of that article was that they've already shot like 3.
Yeah, and that's the budget included that,
yes.
Which I think we keep forgetting. So like, yeah, it's already made a profit off of this,
right.
And there's less, you know, money that went in. So like the profit on the next,
that's what I was going to say. The 3 profit is going to be nuts because they've already shot it. Yeah. So the fact that they've shot both of these movies already, that was not an accurate number, as they were saying on the website. It was not. It was an inaccurate number because they kept saying, well, this movie needs to make this. No, 3 and 4 both. I mean, or, excuse me, 2 and 3 need to make a certain amount of money, and 2 already did it.
Yeah.
So 3, you know, there's going to be some extra costs, obviously, with marketing and and a little bit more post stuff, and maybe they do a couple more. He started, but that's the thing. They said this is already in the can.
Yeah, in the can, not
that's
like
crazy. I didn't know that.
You know, reshoots
right.
or anything like that, and it's in the post production, which costs a ton of money.
Sure,
too,
marketing and all that shit. Yeah, and whatever, they add some new technology, but for the most part, how much more are they going to put into this movie? Even if it's another 200 million, or whatever it is, if it's you're going to make it back and then some.
Yeah.
It's 4 is a little bit of it shot.
It's shot some of 4, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So they'll shoot 4, they'll shoot 5, but. Wow, I mean, these movies now, it's funny because I always liked the first one. I always talked about how I was a big fan of the first one. I said I definitely want to go back and check it out, but it was like, I never realized, because I guess because it was such a 2009 until now, you forget about the theater. You remember the theater experience, but then you kind of forget until you're really sitting there. The next one comes out in 2 years.
That's wild.
It comes out in 2024. So now I'm even more excited to see it because I'm like, oh, I get to see that again, and now I get to see it
it's fresh.
It's a new story. So I think this is obviously it's one of the big no-does if the third one pulls the kind of money that this one did, which in December, and we talked about this on Sith Council. So Damon Lindelof is most likely getting the next Star Wars movie. The rumor is that they're going to start shooting his movie in April. So my guess was, realistically, that movie will probably come out in 2025. Because if you're Star Wars, why do you want to compete with Avatar in 2024?
Yeah, not at all.
Not if you're coming out. First of all, it's the same company, so that would be stupid to cross business on it. Why would you do that? Especially when Star Wars needs a hit, and you move it out of the way. You put it. I would say Avatar comes out 2024. You have another massive year in December. And then the following year, you put Star Wars out. That's how you do it. And if they've already shot Avatar, you probably figure Avatar 4 would come out in 2026, maybe 2027, around that time.
Wow,
which is nuts. And then you figure the last one, you're probably like 2030. Isn't that crazy?
Years don't make sense in my brain because this
sounds
was
like Blade Runner,
Popular Science magazine kind of numbers.
Yeah.
So I'm not Sure, I didn't hear the news, but what is the new Star Wars? Do we know what it's about? Is it a continuation of?
Well, rumors are that it's supposed to be it's supposed to take place after Episode 9.
Okay.
After all the Daisy Ridley stuff. The other rumors are that Daisy Ridley has been in the Lucasfilm offices lately, so that not she would star in it, but that she would show up in it. There's possibility that some of these other characters, whether it's Oscar Isaac, John Boyega, any of them could show up, but we don't know yet. There was also rumors that Lindelof was in a big creative meeting with Dave Filoni and all these other people. So, but there's been no even announcement yet that this is definitely shooting in April. They assume that maybe it'll be announced at Star Wars Celebration. There was a comment that I saw on, I don't know who Sith, and someone said, no, I think that if they shot it now, that they could get it out by 2024. That's a stretch. It's a tough one, for not just for the reasons of why would you go up against Avatar, but why would you want to put that pressure on your team?
Yeah.
To try to push forward, get the whole thing shot from, let's say you start shooting in April, you're done in August, September, whatever it is, and then you've got to throw it into post-production and be ready in a year to get and market it and everything. Ugh, no thanks.
I thought they were done with this story, but maybe the hardcores were done with that storyline.
It is. I don't think it's gonna. I think it's gonna be a brand new story.
But it kind of.
Yeah, it's just taking place in that timeline that she could. It would be fun. I think that there are some people who there are some legitimate people who just want all those characters to go away and don't want anything to do. And then there's people who are just turds and want, no matter what. I liked Rey. I thought Rey was a good character. I thought that her, like everyone else, I think that there just was so much mismatch in writing from all three movies that it was each character was kind of inconsistent. Did she know who her parents were? Did she need to know what was? Should it say the fact that she was an unknown? Should she have been a descendant of all this stuff? They had no clue. And it wasn't Daisy Ridley's fault. And I think that she could do a lot more. And I think that they could actually do with her what, in my opinion, a lot of people don't agree, but what they kind of failed to do with Luke. And I think if she came back and kind of trained a new class of Jedi inside of this new era, it could be interesting, and you don't have to focus on these characters.
Yeah, the past.
Yeah, you bring up new characters and you bring up new things, and it's a new era and there's new, but don't go back into the same stuff. Don't start making a different version of Stormtroopers and a different type of galactic empire. Do something different.
God, that's got to be a tough position to be in. I mean,
sure. I mean, yeah.
After the last one, to go all right, here you go.
Yeah,
you better make this good.
Well, especially the position that he's in is interesting, because you look at where Kathleen Kennedy is. Whether you believe, there's rumors that she, after Indiana Jones, is leaving. That this is her last thing. She won't even be around for that. I don't believe that. I think she's going to stick around until her contract's over, which I think is 2025. I think she'll set this whole movie up. I think this whole movie thing, she'll promote this movie. She'll have all of her shows. And then I think Indiana Jones will be a big hit. I think all these things. And then she will end with her run right before this movie comes out. She'll have producer credit on it. She'll have all this stuff. Then she'll walk away. That's my prediction on it. Some people think that she'll re-up again and she'll do it again. But I think that you have to look at the position that Damon Lindelof is in, and it's okay. We have the 9 didn't go over very well. 8 was the most divisive film maybe that we've ever done. Solo, there are people who love it, but it was our biggest bomb in the theater. And Rogue One was a hit, and Force Awakens was beloved. But you have to keep going back in time. The closer you get to time period now, and the worse you get. So it's okay, so what do we do? Well, we tried to put this movie together, it fell apart. We tried to put this movie together, it fell apart. Hey, Taika Waititi's going to do a movie. Oh, he just did Thor: Love and Thunder. Is it going to be a comedy? That's not how you lead. So you give this guy this new thing who's essentially setting up all this new stuff.
Yeah.
It's daunting, but it's also a cool challenge.
No, it's a fun. I would think it's exciting, but also you've got the pressure riding on you to breathe new life into it after such all the hate that came out about him. I don't know.
All right, Brett, you get a chance here.
Well, you know what I want to talk about.
What do you want to talk about?
M3GAN.
Okay, let's do it.
Doing well, because of course we didn't hate the movie, but we're surprised that people are loving it so much.
It's got a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is, I guess I get it. I guess I get it, and I'll talk about it in a second. So Megan gets a sequel, possible unrated cut. Now, it's got a PG-13 rating, allowing for a large teenage contingent to check it out, and it's slated at the box office this weekend, coming in well ahead of projections and made $30 million domestically, which is a movie could not cost a lot of money to make. We do know that the film wasn't shot with a rating in mind, and that whilst they did make a few changes to turn it PG-13 from an R, those involved have said that the changes they made were crafted to suggestive and even more horrific. Now the film's screenwriter, Kayla Cooper, in written form, the original work was much gorier than was shown.
That's what I would think.
Yeah, no shade to Universal. I love them, and I understand that once the trailer went viral, teenagers got involved, and you want them to be able to see it. There should be an unrated version at some point, though. I heard it's on the books. But yes, it's way gorier. Her body count in the script was way higher than in the movie. She did kill a bunch of people, including a couple of characters whom James was like, I like what you did with those people, but I want them to live. I was merciless, but again, that is me. My humor is extremely dark. All right, so then they say that Megan 2 is in the works. Yeah, that makes sense. With Deadline reporting that a sequel is already in development, according to their sources.
This makes complete sense to me now, because when we look at this well, go back and look at the trailer.
Yeah.
The trailer looks like this is going to scare the shit out of you.
Right.
They've got her in the woods doing this thing, and it's more creepy. Like,
it's goofy, this movie.
Yeah, and now hearing that they tried to make it PG-13 and took the horror out of it, yeah, because it wasn't scary to me.
It wasn't scary, and I think that if you go in, someone who likes horror like yourself, I'm not a big horror person in general, right? So like people think, well, that's why you didn't like it. It's actually not why. I think that I was the same thing where I like a good when something makes sense and it's creepy and it's a good story. I do like it, and I think that that's the same thing that Brett's talking about. That's what I was expecting inside of it, but I can't argue because I went to this Netflix thing last night, and I was there and I was talking to a bunch of people, and I can't tell you, out of all the conversations I had with a bunch of people, the question I kept getting the most was, "Did you love Megan as much as I did?" And I was like, I felt like I was on the outside. I'm like, no. And people are like, what really? And hearing them and the reason why they liked it, I get it. They all said the same thing. It was hilarious. I had so much fun. It's funny. It's entertaining. And I think that maybe it's just because sitting there going, oh, this is really what, like, it doesn't take itself seriously. I respect that about it. But I just was just kind of like, okay. And there was a particular moment that I haven't said this on the air, and I'll say it, and it really pissed me off. And this has nothing to do with the movie. I had to deal with the critics that I saw the movie with. We were watching the movie, and Brett and I were looking at it, and there's a particular scene that happens. I don't want to spoil it, though. You don't want to spoil it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't. I actually can't do that because
just for what the people were rooting for.
Yeah, there's just something that happens, and the theater erupted into applause.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, look, I understand the reason why you think you should applaud here, but when you really break down what just happened, it's like, yeah, it's hard to say without spoiling anything.
Well, I think you could just say somebody, of course, people are going to get killed in this film.
Yeah.
Somebody was killed that wasn't completely justified.
Well, the person wasn't a good person.
Wasn't a good person, but not a horrible person.
But not great. Really, and probably would even. Again, I don't want to. It's just something. There's more to it that I can't. I have to be cryptic because I don't want to spoil it for people who have gone and seen the movie. I haven't had a chance to really talk about it, but it just anyway. But it makes sense. Why this thing will get a sequel? I think that all of when I go back and I look and you look at when you listen to Roxy, and I talked to Gray Drake last night, and the people like the reason why they liked it and had so much fun with it, and you listen to their reasoning for it, you go, I understand that. And if you understand that, and you understand then, well, I understand when most people are looking at it with these lenses and see and why it has like a 95 or 96% or whatever the hell it has. Because it is an entertaining romp. I mean, I was never bored.
No, not bored, but I also I didn't laugh so much that I thought it was a great comedy.
Right.
I didn't, it wasn't so suspenseful that it was meh across the board.
I felt the same way as you did.
And I don't think, people can't say that we're being contrary because we saw this and it was before, I hadn't seen that it had 98%.
No, we didn't know what we thought. We thought everyone thought it was going to be a piece of dog shit, but it was. And I don't think it's dog shit, but I just don't think that it's.
It's not bad.
I don't think it's 98%. But no. I mean, but again, and I say that knowing what Rotten Tomatoes is. Rotten Tomatoes is not like, it doesn't mean that everybody thinks it's an A++++ movie. They just think it's over 3. So if you get a collection, if you get like 50 critics.
I learned that recently.
Yeah, if you get 50 critics in a room, and 50, even if all 50 critics think that the movie is a 3.1, which is just over fresh, then that movie will have 100%.
That's wild.
Which is, you think that everyone thinks this is an A+++ movie. That's not what it means. And the same goes for if it has like, if every critic was like, it's really not good, but it's not terrible, but I can't give it a fresh, so I'm going to go 2.9. And 50 critics give it a 2.9. That movie has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
So that's the difference in how it's collectively looked at. So, but again,
I'd watch an uncut on this. I mean, I definitely would.
Too.
Like if that would probably go like, oh, okay, this is what it wanted to do. You know, the studios got in there and watered it down, and you know,
a little bit, yeah. But I think that what they found, though, but honestly, even the watered down seemed to it made a $30 million profit.
Right?
So, where they went, the direction, it seemed to be the right move. It just didn't land on these two old farts.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I'm excited. I'll see the next one. I mean, I want to see, but I just hope it's scarier.
But I don't expect that.
Yeah.
Because why would you mess with that formula?
Yeah,
now?
they're gonna say like,
why,
people love the comedy.
I wouldn't mess with that formula just because the two assholes like us didn't like it. Everybody else, it's got a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it made $30 million. I would now give you the advice: make the exact same tone.
Make the
exact, because I wonder now if we go into the second movie. We know exactly what we're going to get in this movie, and it's just as crazy and because there's bizarre shit going on, and a lot of it doesn't make any sense at all, and especially motivation and things too. But if you just look at kind of a goofy slasher thing with an AI doll, like okay, and I don't know. I'm very curious what people if every comment of people who saw it said, well, I had fun with it, I won't be surprised.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
That's what it was. It was.
And a lot of people commented on the out of the theater reaction that said like, "Oh, I definitely want to see this now because we said it was fun."
It was fun. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. There are some horror movies, dude, I sit through and I'm watching movies going, it was different. It was different.
Yeah.
And I'm watching some movies going, oh, it's the same shit going over. This wasn't. This was not the same thing, and it was just so, I don't know. Just sometimes the movies just hit people a certain way that they don't hit you, and that's this one. All right, we're gonna move on. I got to talk about AntMan 3 trailer, man. That AntMan 3 trailer, it hits today, and some of the things to expect in general. There's just this poster that they have, this Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. The poster alone teases an epic clash with Kang the Conqueror, and this is from Comic Book Movie. So they released a fantastic new poster that teases Scott Lang, Hope Van Dyne, and Cassie Lang's clash with the evil Kang. A new trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp will be released today, but in the meantime, they have a gorgeous new poster for Peyton Reed's highly anticipated threequel, the first Phase 5 story in the multiverse saga. The expectation is that the movie will usher in a new dynasty and will do the story of Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, and Avengers Secret War as it draws near. Likely serving as Kang the Conqueror's MCU debut, the latest installment in the Ant-Man franchise will have much higher stakes than its predecessors. So this is inside of this. You look at this poster here, and it's like, it does look pretty big, huge, kind of sci-fi-ish, and you got this big, look at that. I mean, that's pretty.
So wait, the trailer's
awesome.
Just dropping during on ESPN?
Well, it'll be on the internet tonight as well, but it's going to drop on ABC obviously first. In Ant-Man and the Wasp, superhero partners Scott Lang and Hope return to continue their adventures as Ant-Man and the Wasp. Together with Hope's parents Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, the family finds themselves exploring the quantum realm, interacting with strange new creatures, and embarking on an adventure that will push them beyond the limits of what they thought was possible. Jonathan Majors joins as Kang. All right, so let's go with this. What are we expecting from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania? What I'm expecting is the debut of Kang to be as epic, or at least to be as epic as the debut of Thanos, or the idea of Thanos, because this is the big bad, or at least one of the big bads of these two Avengers movies. So Jonathan Majors was cast for a reason. If you saw just a little bit of an inkling of what he did in the Loki series, I think we're going to get even more as you see this debut of the evil version of now Kang and what he is going to be capable of. What do you think, Brett?
I totally agree that this is going to be a wonderful introduction of an evil character, because he was amazing in that. Like, and he was being kind of nice. He was the good version, but like he was also, there was a scariness to the niceties, because he's kind of like, you know what
I could do.
Yeah, you know what I can do.
Right.
And so
there's other versions of him that are really bad. It was a great little teaser to this, because you're gonna get, and again, there's a reason you cast Jonathan Majors to play Kang. And you look at what this trailer is going to do, will probably have done at the time that this comes out. This is going to be a big movie for them. It's the first movie in Phase 5. It is the first movie that has to really set up the overall threat, because 4 was a little jumbled, and now it's kind of bringing it all together. And you have to, and Peyton Reed has also talked about, the director of the film, Peyton Reed, has also talked about how epic he wanted this movie to be on an Avengers level, because he said that even Ant-Man 1 and Ant-Man 2 are kind of like palate cleansers, where this needs to be this big, huge movie. And I think once you had all these movies in Phase 4 that were kind of, I mean, Black Panther was the most, I think, serious of them all, rightfully so, at the end of Phase 4. This is going to set you up like, oh, Phase 5 could start out with a bang.
Are you concerned with this one because of, the Paul Rudd element, like the overly comedied, or they're going to be grounded?
Well, I think there'll be comedy in it because the character of Scott Lang calls for that.
He's hilarious. You can't not be.
No, the character of Scott Lang, I don't mind humor when the humor is justified.
Yeah. If
he's in the middle of a really big emotional battle and his daughter's about to be killed and he starts cracking jokes, I'll have an issue with that. But if he is a funny character. He's always been like, in every movie he's in. I'm rewatching Endgame right now, and my daughter's watching for the first time, and he's the comic relief in the beginning of it, but he's also, what Paul Rudd does so masterfully is when he shows up out of the quantum realm in Endgame, he doesn't know what the hell's going on. Yeah. And he shows up and he's at the cemetery and he's like, no, please. He doesn't want to start. He's not cracking jokes or trying to, when he has to, he does. And inside of that's why, I'm hoping Ant-Man needs to have humor in it. Yeah. It needs to, because that's the type of movie it is. What I hope, though, that there's more of a balance like there was in the first one, because the second one started to get more of like feel like, oh, Guardians did it well too, so let's throw out a whole bunch of jokes. I just rewatched Ant-Man 2. It's the same thing. Everybody's got a joke, and every other thing is a joke. I don't think that will be the case with this movie.
And Paul Rudd, I mean, as a comedian, is not, his humor is not stupid or
no.
It can be. I'm trying to look at the word like just quirky or I guess if but don't give everybody else. Let Paul Rudd be the
if he needs to be right, because his daughter's going to have more of a serious tone inside of it, because she's being a little bit more of a rebel. Hank and his buddies are not going to, you're not going to have his buddies be in I don't think they're going to the quantum realm. They shouldn't go to the quantum realm. It doesn't look like they are in the trailer. So there's really no one that should be cracking a lot of jokes. You're right, except really Scott.
Yeah,
should be the ones. What Evangeline Lilly does very well in these movies to get the laughs, she's not the one cracking jokes, but it's her reactions to how stupid he is or certain things that she does, and that will get the laugh. Michael Douglas does the same thing with his reactions off of Paul Rudd or certain things that are happening. So I would like to see David Dastmalchian and T.I. and Michael Pena all show up again in the movie, but not in the quantum realm.
Yeah.
So
can they communicate outside of the
Yeah, they can. Remember in the end of quantum realm, or excuse me, the second movie, he's talking to them in the van before they'll disappear.
That's what
he's in.
So I'm sure there'll be something like that where maybe they could,
I would agree if I didn't see the first trailer, which looks like they make it into the quantum realm by accident.
Oh,
it looks like there's a signal that sends out, and whether Kang answers, whatever it is, but it opens
forgot
up.
We've seen the trailer.
We've seen one. We've seen one trailer. This is going to be, I think, that more of a trailer to really show you the threat of what Kang is.
Yeah,
and that's why they released this poster, to give you a little bit more of, look, this is the next one in the Marvel machine that the marketing is going to start amping up big now.
Wild.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to those. This one is because if you would ask me a month ago, I would have told you that if
what movie I liked better, Guardians 2 or Ant-Man 2, I would have said no doubt Ant-Man 2. It's not the case anymore. Guardians 2 ranks higher to me than Ant-Man 2, because it's more cotton candy than there's more emotional levels in Guardians 2. Yeah. But this movie, but because of the threat of Kang, and again, Jonathan Majors to me is this guy is the real deal, man. This guy is the real deal. He is. I mean, people, his movie that just came out, people are like, well, why didn't it do well if he's the real deal? Because he hasn't had the big movies yet, like Creed 3 and an Ant-Man. Once these come out, you're going to start seeing. I wish that movie would have come out after all this. That's what they should have waited for. They should have waited. He's a massive movie star. He's going to be around for a long time. This dude is he's the guy. He's the guy.
And Ant-Man and Guardians are my favorite of the Marvels. So yeah, I mean, I really, and I didn't, I think a lot of people didn't really. The second one I enjoyed. I didn't like it as much, but it wasn't something where I didn't feel that overly jokey thing that
in the second one. When was the last time you watched it?
I took Lonnie to the theater. No, I haven't seen it recently. Okay. We actually went to the theater and saw that.
Watch it again, and I'm curious if you feel. I'm not saying that you will feel the same way, but
I want this one to do well.
Yeah. That's all right, Brett. So now you're on the clock, my friend. You got one for us?
I'm extremely curious about The Rock taking responsibility for Black Adam failure.
All right, so there's been, what a story this has been. The overall drama that Black Adam has brought, and what exactly is going to happen now with The Rock in the future with DC, if anything. But there's a apparent. This is the story here from Dark Horizons. Yeah.
Do you consider it a failure?
I mean, in the long, yes, I do.
Yes, okay.
I'll go into more of a conversation that in a second. But here's further details came to light earlier this week in a Variety article about Dwayne Johnson's rejected plans for the future of the DC universe on screen. Inside that report, it revealed that Johnson had pitched a multi-year plan directly to new Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav, which would have led to Black Adam and Henry Cavill Superman characters facing off. The move is said to have ruffled feathers and only really resulted in Cavill's return for a brief cameo at the end of Black Adam. Zaslav hired James Gunn and Safran to take over DC, and any plans for a Black Adam sequel or Cavill Superman were scrapped. That would be the end of Johnson's days with DC Studios for now, and his many-year push to bring Black Adam to the big screen. He got his wish, but the film's poor critical performance and the box office disappointment, mostly due to its costly budget, means he can't take it any further. In a 90-second video posted on social media, Johnson hinted about the fallout between him and Warner Brothers over DC and how having the guts to fail is some advice he received that he feels ties into the whole thing. He continues by saying that having the guts to fail is more important quality than the desire to succeed and to become famous, and he's still happy that he has his quality at his age, guts over desire, as it allows him to take big swings. The video understandably drawn an interesting mix of reactions and questions about how much of this is down to fearlessness and how much is to do with ego. Johnson's post is vague enough to avoid directly addressing both the article and the performance of Black Adam, but the timing has drawn understandable links. Johnson said last month that he and James Gunn connected and reaffirmed that Black Adam will not be in their first chapter of storytelling with this article. Johnson said last month that he and James Gunn connected and reaffirmed that Black Adam will not be in their first chapter of storytelling, with the character, if he were to come back, likely to be utilized in an ensemble movie as opposed to a standalone one. The actor remains one of the biggest film stars out there and will be next seen in the Christmas set action adventure Red One alongside Chris Evans. That is a target releasing around holiday 2023. Here's the Rock's actual audio from that clip. Here it is.
Thought I wanted to share with you guys. There's a good friend of mine named Inky Johnson. You guys should follow him. He's always got great perspective, grounding perspective. He keeps it raw, he keeps it real. He said something that was really profound that I feel ties into this whole thing. And he talked about having the guts to fail. And the reason why I bring that back around to you guys is having the guts to fail compared to having the desire to be famous, having the desire to succeed. And by the way, you should have a desire to win, desire to succeed. There's nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that, and that's your truth. But I have found in life that the desire to become famous, the desire to succeed, will never be as powerful as having the guts to fail. And I love that because I look back on my own life and around every corner, and still today, look, I'm a fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex. I'm 58,000 years old. But I still have that, and that's my lead foot of just having the guts to fail around every corner. And that leads my decisions. That allows me to take big swings, get my ass kicked on some of them, fail at some of them, but then also succeed at some of them. So I will always take guts over desire.
All right. So, look, there's a lot there.
It's about guts. It's about guts. It's about faith.
The thing is that, so it's a tough one too, right? Because there's so much. I think there's a lot he did wrong. I love the idea that he was passionate about this character. He wanted to bring the number one problem with the movie, as much as the number one problem with all this is, as much as I enjoyed it and thought it was fun, it's not a great movie. It's just like a 90s kind of action movie that you can, and it's one of these things that I will never sit with anyone, and if they go, that movie's terrible, I'm never going to say, like, really? You feel that way? I get it. You think it's terrible? I mean, you don't like that type of thing. You don't like when you compare it to the other type of action movies, or excuse me, other kind of comic book movies that are out there, it just fails in comparison. It doesn't even come close. And if you're trying to jumpstart the DC, very similar to what we were just talking about with Star Wars. Yeah. Like how that movie's got to come out and really hit you, right? Like that next Star Wars movie has to be fantastic in order to take over the DC universe and be the guy. Now, if Black Adam makes $1 billion and it's touted as one of the best superhero movies ever, this is a different conversation. This is a dilemma that Zaslav would be in, because he's like, well, this movie made $1 billion. This is one of the most highly rated things. This is like the best performance of Dwayne Johnson's career. You're having different conversations, and none of that happened.
What was why did they do a standalone of this and not introduce it, you think, in
Shazam?
Like,
why? Well, that's another part of the.
Is that why he's taking blame? Because
that's part of the rumors. Part of the rumors is that, like, he really was adamant about not being introduced in Shazam. Now, the rumor, not confirmation, is that he thought that Shazam was too goofy and too cheesy, and he didn't want Black Adam anywhere. Like, because Black Adam's rival is Shazam, but he wanted to make the rival Superman, because in his marketing brain, which is not wrong, if you make it Superman and bring Cavill back, you'll get the fans who really wanted Cavill back to support the movie. And in essence, he was correct that I think I would love to know, you'll never find this out, but I would love to know the actual amount of box office that movie made because of Henry Cavill.
Yeah, they wanted to see Superman.
Yeah, just in that little thing. But no, so that was I think he absolutely should have been introduced in Shazam and then spun that off and to see like how the audience felt about him first, because they teased Black Adam in the first Shazam movie. And Shazam, the first movie, did well because it didn't cost a lot of money. That's the other thing. This movie cost way too much money to make without an actual it was too much of a risk. And it put it out in October. There's just so much. And then going around Walter Hamada's back to try to make it work, he pulled some wrestling moves that in his lifetime has worked tremendously. And as he said, he took a shot. He took big swings. He just missed a bunch of them when it came to Black Adam.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to steal that from you and see what...
I mean, it's on HBO Max.
Oh, it is? Oh,
it's on HBO Max. You can, but it's on HBO Max right now. And
I don't know why I'm more interested in seeing things that, like, that people aren't raving about.
To see how you like them. I mean, look, because I think that you'll wind up, I think same thing, if I was to guess, we'll probably wind up thinking the same thing I did. It's kind of a forgettable movie, but I had fun watching it.
Didn't hate it, didn't really love it.
It's a good popcorn movie. At least I felt that way. I thought that the Justice Society, or whatever, the League, whatever they're called, the Hawkman and Dr. Fate, I thought all of them were great. That it was a nice way to set that up. But yeah, he's coming out there, and I think fans are. It's my biggest question we asked on Escapes and Cowls is he needs another movie, whether it's his Christmas movie or whatever it is. He needs to get back on everybody's good graces.
Yeah.
Because it sucks. It's the way, but you know how that's like, how it works.
The Rock, I know. All right, well, we love you, but
dude, it's a fickle business.
Oh, I know.
It's a fickle business. You ask for it, you get it. It's like they love you when they love you, but they'll kick you when you're down, and that's what's happening. That's what's happening right now with him. I don't think this is not something he can't come back from. Of course he can, but he But he's just got to keep doing his thing. He's very good on social media. He's a really good producer. He's got an electric personality. So I think he's going to be just fine. And in general, this is just I'm going to say that right to the camera. If anybody's worried about The Rock,
he'll be all right.
He'll be all right. He's going to be all right. But it's like it's just
gotta suck because he was passionate about it to make all these moves. Yeah. And when you're really passionate about something and it doesn't.
It's a pain in the ass.
It's
not
a bummer. Like people were begging.
It's
him,
a loss.
Please,
no, it's a loss. And that's the thing it's a loss. And to him, here he is. Like he has this whole thing. He's been working on it since 2007, trying to get the movie made. He finally has the clout to do it. He finally does it. He took this big swing by not only making this movie, trying to take over and have this whole plan for DC, and unfortunately it kind of blew up in his face. And now he's just kind of playing cleanup from it, because now he's not a part of the DCU. He's got nothing to do with the DCU and then he tweeted out, and I had said it too, I couldn't believe it. I was like, why would he tweet out that the movie made a profit? Because he wrote it. He's like, this movie, actually I just talked to my financial guys and it did make a profit, and then it turned out that wasn't true. Oh, no. So it's like, this is just a mess. I think that The Rock needs to and will just move on from. It'll kind of, it'll always be there, that little fart in the car that kind of never goes away, but which is also nuts, because it made like $450 million, whatever it made, but it still cost too much to make. So anyway, very curious, out of all these topics that we talked about so far, what was the one for you guys that really stood out and that you want to talk about? Make sure that you comment, hit the like button. I will say this, that if you've noticed, if you go into the Big Thing episodes, all of the episodes have been doing significantly better. And one of the reasons why they're doing, we were doing good, but we're doing significantly better now. And the reason why we're doing really well is because you guys have been commenting and liking on all the videos. We have been aiming for 1,000 likes and 1,000 comments each video. Now, we don't always get there, but we get close. And what it does is it allows more people to see it. More people have been seeing it in the recommendations. More people have seen the show in general. More people will keep catching the show because of what you guys are doing. So please, please, please comment on the video. Click a like, do all that stuff. Even if you've never done it before in the past, make sure that you do that. All right, so a few things before we take off. Again, remember, Black Knight. It's up on the store right now. So get yourself that shirt. Get yourself the You Don't Know-ish. And if you don't want to get either one of those, there's some other ones up there for you. If you haven't joined Patreon, patreon.com/thebigthingshow. Please go and check that out. We have a lot of great things happening this month. And podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. Make sure that you please go and check us out there. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a good week. This week we got Sith Council on Wednesday. The trio of myself, Steph, and Mike should be back on Wednesday. Roxy Stryer and Brett will be back on Thursday. But we also have Andrea Riseborough going to be on she's on Bloodline, which was really, really great. She's going to be on the show this week, so we're excited to talk to her. And then Friday's Capes and Cows with myself, Winston, and Coy. So make sure that you are checking us out. Hit that comment, hit that like button. For Brett Sheridan, I'm me, and you guys are you. We'll see you on the flip side. Peace.